Hi there. Oh, this world of the demiurge, this Rosa Mundi, rose of the world, how it is suffuse and how the dance of the energies of having and not having, wanting and not wanting, weave a pattern of restriction and distraction and distraught dismay and the energy of itself, really. Wanting and not wanting, having and not having. Um, you know, so many of us find ourselves not having what we want, which obviously leads to frustration and aggression and anger and thinking it's poor me and it's not fair and things like that. But then having that which you don't want, well, is the basis of suffering, all right? That's kind of a given as well. And then there's even when you do have what you want, Oscar Wilde said there were two tragedies in life: not having what you want and having what you want. Because when you do have what you want, of course, you either want something different or you want more of it. So that leads to dissatisfaction. And then that leads in turn to frustration because you go back to wanting something that you don't have. So this leads basically not having what you don't want, which is a bit of a strange combination of wanting and having. But I got here it leads to guilt because I don't have starvation, and I wouldn't want starvation, but I feel guilty that other people are starving instead of me. So even this leads to guilt. However, it seems to me that not wanting what you don't have it represents an incredible detachment from desire altogether, and an incredible sort of sense of freedom. You don't have it, and you don't want it. So other people may have things or may want things, and they may go into frustration and dissatisfaction and suffering. But you are completely liberated from all desire altogether by not having what you don't want and not wanting what you don't have. And it's something beautiful about that, and something which also perhaps connects you to the supernal realm, to the realm of limitless light, and actually propels you outside the world of the demiurge, which is made up of this seething cauldron of not wanting and not having and having, and the suffering and dissatisfaction and guilt and frustration that arises from this potent and toxic mix of energies. But by going beyond desire altogether, by having desires but not being attached to them, from letting go, and the freedom that endows you, and a quality of freedom and energy of freedom, if you like, as I say, actually propels you and connects you to the world of limitless light, where everything, where there is no scarcity, and so there's no point in being dissatisfied because you have everything that you could possibly want all the time, and yet also you are liberated from the desire for everything. So you don't have scarcity on one hand, but you also don't have desire on the other. So it's a kind of a win-win situation, as it were, if you follow my logic. So this is a reminder, really, that at this time of the year when we desire so much because everything's on sale, at a sale price, and we wish to avail ourselves of something that we think we want at a very discounted price, we're reminded that that the things that we desire may not be what we really desire, because what we really desire actually lies beyond desire itself. And I must say, there's one thing that I did think, sort of think about this logically. A lot of the things that are on sale, and at a cheap price. Maybe things that we don't actually need, but actually we don't even want. Because what we really want is quality products and services which actually work. And so it may be that instead of buying things, what we should be doing is saving up money to buy more expensive products and services which will actually serve us better during life than always going for something which is cheap and discounted and maybe of inferior quality, which doesn't really fulfill our needs on one hand, and which breaks very soon after we purchased it on the other. And that's just sort of practical consideration of living in this world and being sort of beset by advertising, which wants you to spend, spend, spend. But of course, when you think about it, people that make products obviously want you to spend money on them. They don't actually want you to save up your money to spend on more expensive products. And of course, then you might say, well, even expensive products are discounted at this time of year. And perhaps they are, but we may not have the money to buy them in any case. So that's really when we should say, well, I won't buy the cheaper of the two products. I'll buy the more expensive at a time when I can actually afford them. And I'm going to save my money until that time. So instead of spend, 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 it's save, save, save. And governments tell us on one hand to save money, or and invest it wisely, and on the other hand they tell us to spend it. We can't have it both ways. And it seems to me that that you're better off in life really going for something which is handcrafted or painstakingly made or produced expensively, which costs a lot of money, which you have to save up in order to buy, rather than trying to buy cheaper stuff, or trying to buy even medium priced products which are discounted at this time of year. And the other products are so expensive that you can't afford them even when they are discounted. Not all one lump. So it's worth actually saving up money, perhaps, or perhaps saving up money at least until you have sufficient funds to buy the expensive products at a discounted price. But certainly, poor people in general are told to spend their money, what little money they have, on cheap. And what I'm saying is that actually is a false economy, which a lot of poor people are hoodwinked into falling for. When in actual fact, if you're poor, it just means you have to save harder than a rich person. But then the thing that you actually buy at the end becomes of more value because you've actually had to save money for it. And you're going to take care of it, and you're going to appreciate it more, and it's going to fulfill your needs to a greater extent simply because, it not only actually empirically it does, but also in terms of perception it does as well. So, but that's neither here nor there to this argument really. But I just included that argument to demonstrate that it's not that Gnostics deny desire and deny that the world exists and that they have needs, physical or intellectual or emotional or creative needs, which are fulfilled by certain products and services and not others. So there's no sort of denial of reality here, on one hand, and yet there's also a search for freedom from desire, and freedom, a detachment from desire, by not wanting something that you don't have, and you wouldn't want it anyway, and how much of a relief it is, perhaps not to spend, but perhaps to save instead. And that's one of the ways of actually being in the world, but not of the world, because if you're going to be of this world, you're going to be of the consumerist culture that dominates or the whole world, in fact, now as it is. So, and in terms of In the old days, you bought clothes which used to last for years and years and years, and everything used to last for years. And now there's built-in obsolescence to everything, because obviously they just want you to keep spending money on various companies which provide certain services and products which basically are of inferior quality, deliberately of inferior quality, in fact, as it turns out. So, buy a pair of shoes which will last 30 years. Obviously, that's not going to make the wheels of industry spin round at quite the rate that they are now. And yet, I feel, on the other hand, that there is much to be said for going for something that could be possibly an heirloom that you'd pass down to your heirs, literally, because of its high quality. And it doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, you're going to go for quality every time, even if you have to save a bit longer in order to have that quality. So at this time of the year, I just thought I would, throw these ideas out there. I mean, probably everybody knows about them, really. you know, but it's good to be reminded. It's good to remind myself of this fact, rather than sort of joining the queue outside the cheap and cheerful place where one buys cheap and cheerful products, which basically are as ephemeral, basically in essence, as an illusory as this world itself. And anyway, you can't spend yourself out, or spend money and make everything better by throwing money at a situation or circumstance, or even individual. You have to use your money wisely, instead of just spending in a completely ignorant sort of way, which I'm afraid a lot of people do, without being too judgmental about it. So anyway, we say this every year to ourselves and to other people, and every year to ourselves and other people we don't listen, but perhaps we should.